Welcome to Life, Lessons, and Legacy, the podcast where we delve into the stories that shape our lives and the lessons we carry forward. I'm your host, Cedric D. Nelson, and I'm excited to embark on this journey of discovery, growth, and inspiration with you. Whether you're seeking motivation, guidance, or simply a moment of reflection, Life, Lessons, and Legacy is here to accompany you on your quest for fulfillment and purpose. So sit back, open your mind, and let's embark on this transformative journey together. Hello, everyone, and welcome to this episode of the Life, Lessons, and Legacy podcast. I'm your host, Mr. Cedric D. Nelson, and today we're honored to have Mr. Greg Robertson on the show.
What's going on? How y'all doing?
Hey, Greg, we appreciate you coming on, man, on the pod. We talked about it a couple of weeks ago, so I'm looking forward to having this conversation with you and getting the listeners to know you a little bit better. First of all, go ahead. What are you saying?
No, I was just saying that's what's up.
Okay. Hey, so first of all, let me get a little about your background. Where are you from, and etc.
I was born in Jackson, Tennessee.
Okay.
Pretty much raised a country boy, right in the outskirts of Brownsville. You know, I joined the military after high school. Did that for like 4 years. Moved here to Memphis. Was here for 5 years. Left here, moved to Chicago. I was there for 10 years. Then I moved back this way to Jackson in like 2010.
Okay.
And man, I had been gone so long, it was kind of hard. Jackson was just a little too slow for me, you know what I'm saying? And it was kind of like the mentality, you know what I'm saying? I ain't knocking all the people, but it was like having been in so many progressive places, it seemed a little stagnant to me. So I was like, man, I got to at least get back to Memphis. So I came back here. Been grinding it out ever since.
Yeah, I agree. I will say this, like you say, once you experience not like a fast life, but life where you have access to everything you want. It's just, you can go here and because I enjoy being in the country, but I also want access to stores and events and things of that nature. Sometimes in Jackson, I have a lot of clients in Jackson. And like I say, it's I call it Little Memphis, but it really is Little Memphis because a lot of stuff you have here, you don't have there. Even the mall is totally different. You 3 or 4 stores, whatever it may be. And nothing knocking, like you say, knocking Jackson, but it is it's a slower pace. A lot slower.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of stuff I could go into about Jackson, but as I've gotten older, I can appreciate that slower lifestyle now, though. You know, it's crazy because I got an auntie that always told me, "Now you gonna want to come back." I was like, "You crazy," but man, you get to dealing with this madness that goes on in the city, and having about 10 acres and being able to grow your own food becomes something you can really look forward to doing.
Yeah, and not worried about getting shot every time you come out of the house, like you say. Because like I said, that's why I like the country. Like my ideal would be, like you say, about 10 acres of land, build a house. I mean, it's close enough to the city, to Memphis, that I can get here if I need something, but far enough away that somebody would have to let me know they're coming before they come. They couldn't be like, I was out this way and stop by. Because Memphis is different. When you worry about pumping gas,
Bro, I told somebody that I was like, you literally almost have to have your hand on your pistol and one on the pump. Like you just never know. And having somebody walk up on you at the gas station is the most uncomfortable situation.
It is
here in Memphis. So
it is. Or just coming outside and somebody's trying to break in your car and you have to make the decision of, do I let them take my vehicle or do I take the chance of getting killed over my vehicle?
Man, those are some very serious situations that a lot of us deal with. But like you said, being out in the country with a driveway that's about a mile long where I can see you coming. That's a lot better situation.
Or Greg, if someone is coming down the driveway trying to do me harm, they may not make it back down the driveway, but at least I have time to see them coming.
If I see you coming, and it's an option, one of us ain't gonna make it. I'm just gonna keep it real. You know, you on private property, yeah, but you know, that's not a situation any of us want to be in.
Exactly.
Definitely nothing we want, but it's real life scenarios.
It is.
And you know, being in, like I said, you know, having lived in Chicago and then living here, you know, when you live in a situation where you deal with a lot of violence, you know, you have to make some choices.
You do.
So,
you know, like you said about being in Brownsville, outside of Brownsville, Jackson. Same thing. I grew up in Oxford, and I grew up in the projects, but I had a lot of time in the country. And even Mississippi, everyone speaks. Everybody's very kind. Hey, how you doing? You know. So when I came to Memphis, and I'm like speaking to people, they're like looking down or looking at me like I'm about to do something to them. And I'm like, man, what's wrong with these people? So it is a different vibe. It's a different environment. Just like you said, Chicago, the social norms may be totally different, because in Mississippi, you go down here and not speak to somebody and they're offended. But you might come to Memphis and speak to someone and be a victim, you know?
Exactly. Exactly. Man, it's sad as you know what I'm saying, the way we grow up, you have to consider those types. I used to tell people I used to have people ask me all the time, like, why you never smiled? And especially when I was in Chicago.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because coming from down south, you got a different mentality. And you know they looking at you differently. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, I'd be like, nah, we don't do that where I'm from. You know, you won't look like a sweet Vic. You know what I'm saying? You know, if I come off too friendly, people think they can take advantage of you. So, you know, I think that, you know, the military played a part in that too.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? So, like, I've been in a lot of structured environments. You know what I'm saying? Like, one thing I can say about growing up in the country, it's more structured because you have somewhat of a community. Where, you know what I'm saying, because it ain't all this violence and stuff, you still have that old school, you know what I'm saying, the families look out, people will check you if you in the wrong, which I think is something we really need to get back to. You know, the lack of accountability is killing us in a whole lot of areas. You know what I'm saying? No one wants to accept accountability. I've been on the phone this morning going back and forth with a friend of mine, and I was just like, man, the lack of accountability. No one wants to accept hearing that they're wrong. We've gotten away from that. You can't correct anybody. And I constantly tell them, like, most people don't understand love, because with love comes correction. You can't say you love somebody and you're not willing to correct them.
Right.
But everybody's so easily offended because they want to do what they want to do, how they want to do it, but don't want to accept the consequences of their actions.
Exactly. Well, you know, when I was growing up, Greg, like you said, we had elders, and the elders, like I said, they would check you. I mean, they might discipline you, you know. And, and if you disrespected an elder or said something crazy, like I tell people, like, kids curse when I was growing up, of course, just like they do now. The difference is, when I was a kid, if an elder walked by, that same kid that may be a gangbanger, when the elder came by, he wasn't cursing, he was very respectful and everything. Nowadays, it's totally different. The kid may curse you out, and then you may tell the parent and have to fight the kid and the parent. So like you say, there's no accountability. And you're like, well, why are things out of control? Well, it's like you say, there's no accountability. There's no one showing any real love, because, like, again, it's like being a parent. I can't be a great parent and let my child do whatever they want to do. I'm being a great parent by giving you, like you say, my structure. And yeah, I don't know. It's crazy because you have children raising children here, which is, you know.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I mean, we probably about 2-3 generations into children raising children.
Yeah.
So it's gonna worsen every different generation.
Yeah. You know, and it's crazy, you know, because you deal with that. And I tell people, like, most of these, they're not growing up with like a moral compass. You know, even as a kid, I was always my grandmother always made me go to church, you know, whether I wanted to or not. After a while, I wanted to go, but I was telling them, like if you have people and they have no moral compass, then they have, it's like me find me, because I don't think about what may happen after I die. I don't care about what happens to this person, that person. And like you said, we go around here doing what we want to do, and then when we get in trouble, it's like, oh my God, why is Man locked up? Well, Man's locked up because Man went and robbed a couple stores and shot some people, and he's going to be treated accordingly, because even though we might give Man a pass, the judicial system does not give him a pass at all. They're going to lock him up.
And it's ironic because that's the conversation I was having this morning about the situation with the officer being killed, and then the situation that just happened in Orange Mound, like yesterday or the day before. You know, when it comes to the justice system, and you know, me being a barber, I have these conversations all the time. Like, we get upset when the justice system takes these children. You know what I'm saying? Especially young Black males, take these children, give them these insane numbers to, you know, the time. And people got to need first to understand that that's a corporation.
Exactly.
They're going to do what they can to get the best of their money and make the most money off of you. So they look for situations for us to get into because sadly, we fuel the justice system. You go down to 201 Poplar, you ain't gonna see nothing but us down there.
That's it.
And you know, again, there's that lack of accountability. You can't say, and this is my argument with my friend this morning, like, a lot of people talk about the police. I'm like, you dealing with people who only deal with bad situations. No one calls the police to say, we're having a birthday party, can you come through?
Right.
And I'm not an advocate for the police, but I'm an advocate for the truth and what's right. So as human beings, we're going to get numb if we're being called to somebody's house and then that person is cussing us out when we get there.
But the person we came to save you.
Yeah, so I mean, it makes no sense. And I was like, you can't have it both ways. So when you have isolated situations where the police is, you know, looking at situations, it's going to be me or you.
Yeah, I'm going home.
Exactly.
You know,
man, you took the words out of my mouth because that's exactly what I told my friend. I'm like, they looking at it like I'm going home.
Yeah. You know, Greg, and it's crazy because I tell people all the time, especially as Black people, you know, young Black men, we've been young Black men, we're, I guess, middle-aged Black men now, you know, hope get a chance to be older Black men. But I tell them all the time, like, we know that, like you say, we usually fuel the I guess the penal system, right? We know that, right? Like, we know that your sentence, our sentence may be more than our counterparts, right? But yeah, we still do stupid stuff. It's like I tell people all the time, like, getting drunk all the time, getting high all the time. I'm like, what do you think is going to happen? Like, if you hang around enough criminals, eventually you're going to be involved in some criminal activity, you know. And then when the consequences come, all of a sudden, oh my God, my baby, they gave my baby 20 years. Well, your baby's been robbing people and breaking the liquor stores and carjacking people for the last 4 or 5 years. You're lucky no one killed your baby, you know.
Exactly.
I don't know. And like you say, no accountability. I tell people all the time, you know, I'm a man of a certain age. And even when I deal with the police officers, I'm very respectful. Even if sometimes they may be disrespectful, they may have had a crappy day and be disrespectful. My job is to go home to my family. So I'm yes, sir, no, sir, hands on the steering wheel, give me whatever information. I'm not going to say, you had no right to stop me. What you pulling me up? My job is to make this interaction as small and as short as possible so I can go on with my business. If I get a ticket, give me the ticket. I want to go home.
Yep, we can fight about it in the courtroom.
That's it.
You know, but like you said, let me get home.
That's it.
And, you know, man, we can be on this all day. It's like I said to my friend, like, because she was making an argument that it's not right with this situation. And, you know, we can only talk about what we know as far as like white cop that just got killed.
Yeah.
And they said it was friendly fire. Her thing is that boy that started shooting shouldn't get killed or shouldn't get charged with the murder of the cop. And I'm like, why do you say that? Because he put in actions that made that happen. And her whole argument is, well, his bullet wasn't the one that killed him. His bullet was the one that set it off, though.
That's it.
And I was like, you know, you don't have to. I said, put yourself like, and I think the biggest problem we don't put ourself in those situations. If you pull up on somebody and there's 3 people in the car with guns and you can see they got switches on them, you tapping on the window and you can't wake them up.
Right.
you know, it's something going on where 3 people ain't waking up. You know what I
Right.
mean? 3 o'clock in the morning, you can tell these some young kids that should be at home. It's a whole lot of stuff that plays out.
Yeah.
And again, I'm not advocating for anybody. I just stand for truth, what I see the truth being and what's right. You got these kids here in Memphis don't mind shooting at the police.
Oh, no, not at all.
So if I'm out here trained to try to keep the peace, and I'm knowing somebody's going to shoot at me, I don't care. If I'm in an area where the Klan is, and I know they got a problem, I'm gonna be on edge and be prepared to do what I got to do to get home.
That's it.
So
that's it.
It's those type of situations, man.
Yeah, you know.
But like I said, you know, we always want to make excuses for our kids. You see it's all the time. My baby never did that. And if you ever just listen to the police and listen to the stuff that they deal with, man, it's a lot. Like I said, no one calls them to invite them to birthdays or weddings. Or, you know, it's always some drama, and you know,
and they see
you got to
the
be
worst
prepared to do.
They see the worst of the worst. So you imagine coming from a triple homicide, and then you come over here and you're like, and just like the situation with the officer that got killed, the city will be on edge from now on, because nobody takes their job saying I want to get killed by some random guy with a switch on, you know. And it's like, and I tell people, like, put yourself in the officer's shoes, because it's not a job. I thought about being an officer when I came out of college. I was like, no, I'm tripping. Like, I could, this isn't the field for me, you know, because there's no way you can have that job and not always be on 10 while you're on duty, because you got to be alert.
Yeah, and it's a guy that used to come to the barbershop. I was there when he was going through training, and he had such good intentions. He was like, you know, man, I just want to go out here and make a difference. I want to be the guy that, you know, try to calm the situations down, this, that, and the other. And I was like, you know, that sounds admirable. And man, I would hope that you'd be able to do it. I said, but we are people that don't believe history. I said, I believe history.
Right.
I don't believe everybody who went on the police force had intentions of, you know what I'm saying, going upside somebody's head or thinking, you know, but I know too many who say when they get on the scene, the first thing is you got the people who are already combative and I don't mess with 12 and like, okay, so why did you call me here?
Right.
If you don't want me here, why did you call me here?
Yeah, well, you know, it's like when they was about to defund the police. And I was like, no, I need the police. I need somebody to call. Because can you imagine the world where you don't have anyone to call when things go wrong? You know, you and I as men, we could probably protect ourselves, but we can only protect ourselves against 1 or 2 people. And when they are numbers, it's over for us. But I can only imagine as a child or as a woman, and you have no one to call. You know, it's just, it's kind of like now, and we'll move on to the next question. I know, like you said, we'll be on this forever. But it's kind of like being up here now, and sometimes they'll just block off the intersection, just start doing donuts and burnouts. And it's like, well, they're in the wrong, but if I drive out there, I'm gonna get hit and probably get shot. So it's like a constant state of paranoia, high alert the whole time. I tell people it's like almost like living through trauma, because you never know when something's gonna happen. You watch the news in the morning and they say 5 people got shot, and you keep on drinking your coffee and you eat your food and you go out the door, because it's the norm for someone who got murdered the night before. You feel sorry for them, but you're so immune to it now that you're like, oh, okay, it's a Monday morning.
Right. And, you know, I made that same argument about the whole blocking off the interstate to do donuts while holding an AR or AK out the window. So, yeah, no one's going to try to drive by that madness just to get shot for absolutely no reason. And I was like, I don't understand that whole blocking on even in a protest, the interstate or anything, because my thing is I try to think about other people all the time. What if what if a woman is pregnant and trying to get to the hospital?
Yeah.
You got the interstate blocked because, you know what I'm saying, the price of donuts went up or whatever your argument is. You know what I'm saying? Like, it doesn't make any sense to me. And to block off an interstate just to do donuts in somebody's car you done stole.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
You got guns hanging out. It makes no sense to me. You know what I'm saying? Like these people don't consider other people.
That's it. It's selfishness. I tell again, like you said, growing up in the country during that time, everyone watched out for everybody. And like if somebody's family was struggling, somebody would go take them some food, they would help out. And it's just different here because most people, like we had no family group. It's just me, my wife, and my two kids. We've developed family through friends here. But for most part, people here don't care about. I mean, it's me fight me. It is. Look at me shine. Watch me get out of my way. I don't care about you or your kids. I told somebody, even coaching sports, it was mind blowing to me that some of the coaches didn't even care about the kids. I'm like, man, these kids, they like 5 or 6 years old. Like, what are we cursing these kids out? We over here I'm like, what is going on? So it's different. I tell people if you're not here, if you haven't ever lived here, you can't understand it until you're here for a while and kind of have a couple experiences. It's like, oh, okay. Yeah, this is Mississippi. Look, this is legit different. You know?
Yeah. So, and and I don't want to make Memphis seem like the worst place on the planet.
Right.
Because you got good people here.
Mm-hmm.
And my thing has always been, we always let the worst in society be the loudest.
Yeah, that's
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
If you looking at social media and you looking at the stuff these women are doing and saying, you would be like, and I make that argument all the time. Like, I don't believe that all women are bad. These a whole bunch of just trifling women out here. I said, but as good women, y'all allow them to be y'all spokesman. So, you know what I mean? It gets viewed that way. And I said, you will see men who are really stand-up men. We will argue for our position. I'm not going to let you say all black men are deadbeats and this and that. And go against the actual statistics, because statistically, it says black men are the most involved in their kids' life. But we'll see those statistics and still say, nah, you deadbeat.
Yep. You gotta know who you're dealing with,
Exactly.
Yeah, it's crazy. Man, okay, I'm my bad. I keep getting off, Greg. Hey, this is a great conversation. I think this is why I'm getting thrown off. Huh? So my next question is a little bit about your educational background and your career background. I know you said the military, so your education and career background.
Yeah, I mean, that was pretty much it. Just the military. I briefly went to IT&T, you know what I'm saying? But, I left. That's when I left there and went to the military.
Okay.
But, other than, barbering school, that's pretty much it. But, one thing, I'm an avid reader. So
Gotcha.
I didn't have to have somebody to make me learn anything, I prefer reading over watching TV. I seldom watch TV. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So,
Greg, I will say this, and that's something I think is a lost art these days, like reading. I remember having cousins that read a lot, and people kind of make fun of them. And then as they got older, they were the most intelligent people in the family because they were always taking the knowledge. And I'm like you now. Like, I very rarely watch I don't know what the latest shows. Maybe if somebody tells me something, I might watch like one show. But I'm always reading. I don't care where I am. If I'm not actively doing podcasts or seeing clients, I'm reading. I got like 4 or 5 different books I'm reading in different locations in the house. So when I'm in that location, I'm taking in information because I'm like, excuse me, when you read, you can interpret yourself.
Right.
And this generation doesn't really read. Everything they have, like even their news feed is via the cell phone, social media. Like they go to YouTube and Facebook and Instagram and Snapchat. That's how they get their information. Now, I tell my son and my daughter all the time, that's skewed. Like they can make that look like whatever they want to. Get your knowledge from a book and actually do your own research. And I think that I tell people all the time, like people, when we were young, I know they kind of said, go to school, graduate, go to college, get you a good job. And I'm like, no, some of the most intelligent people I know are people that did not go to college because they actually took time to learn and read. And even if your experience with the military, I mean, you get a chance to see life. My son is thinking about joining the Air Force when he gets done with high school. And I told him, son, go see the world. Hey, it'll give you something to do. We'll figure it out from there. Get your 4 years in. If you like it, stay in. If you don't, come on out. We'll figure something out from there. So,
yeah, and it gives a structure. I mean, it's different you know, with you being a father, and you know, there's a lot of us don't have that father figure in the house. I know a lot of young dudes I've seen, they talked about, like you was talking about the coaches.
Mm-hmm.
They look up to their coaches because that was the closest thing to a father that they had. But at the same time, I'm still standing on a lot of Black men are active in our kids' lives.
That's it.
I've always been in mind, you know what I'm saying? Like everybody I was around, pretty much, I'd say 95% of them were active in their kids' life. So, you know, when they try to paint this picture that we're this and we're that, I'm like, I don't know those people. Well, maybe you should change those surroundings.
That's what I was about to say, Greg. So here's the thing, I'm with you. So growing up, my father wasn't involved in my life, right? But so the coaches were, in my book, I talk about an older gentleman named Coach Horton. And he was the first male outside of my household. You know, my uncles and aunts were like my brothers and sisters. I grew up with them. But he was one of the first people male outside of my home who actually believed in me. He was like, hey, you're going to the Olympics. He always praising me. So whenever I was around Coach Horton, if he said, hey, we're about to play this team that you run through the wall, I was going through the wall, you know, because you had a male that was actually believing in you. And so like you said, it's important. Representation is important because like you and I are both involved in our children's lives, right? Like I don't miss anything. I think my son and daughter, they've been playing sports since they were like 5. And I've missed one track meet and one football game. And that was because I got stuck in, I think, Fort Lauderdale, and all the flights shut down. Other than that, if they throwing rocks, they peeing off the top of a building, I'm there. It don't matter, you know, like you said, but the people that say, well, the fathers aren't involved, those are people in that certain environment. But like you said, all the guys that are my friends, they all stand-up guys. I don't have a friend who isn't there for their child. Like it's crazy now that you think about it. I didn't think about it, but I don't hang in those crowds. I don't hang with people that it's okay not to be a father to their child.
Exactly.
You know, but if that's what you're around, you know, oh yeah, people ain't, you know, and you're like, no, the people you hang around, you know, so yeah. And I think that's how we get a bad rap, because like you say, the people that are in those situations where the men aren't involved, those are the people that are the loudest. And there's usually a reason why that man is not there. Now, some of them might just be trifling, but a lot of times it's a reason why he's not there. And that's who she chose to be with. Like my wife knew when we got together, like, you know what? Okay, he has the potential to be a great father. It's like we have a child with somebody, okay, she has potential to be a great mother. But if you out here again picking Man and Pookie, who in and out of jail all the time, what do you think you're gonna get?
Hey man, that's a deep conversation. I swear we'd be on that all day. I could go on that one all day.
Right.
Yeah, most definitely. You know, like again, it falls down to accountability. I just want to share a story if I can.
Okay, yeah, go ahead.
This young lady that I was trying to date in Chicago, like, like I literally get to know people. Like I'm not driven by sex to deal with you, because I would tell women all the time, I've never met a woman that didn't have the ability to have sex. That ain't how I would say it, but for the sake of the podcast, was there that way. But she was talking about her son's father, and she, you know what I'm saying, like this happened several times. So a lot of time we only look at things from our perspective and how we were taught to look at it. So I asked her, I said, what made you talk to him? Because how is he such a bad person after y'all had this child, but he wasn't that person before? I was like, you know, the problem is you can't accept that you made a bad choice. I said, he was the same dude that was smoking weed and playing video games all day when you was laying down with him. But then you became pregnant and you expected him to change. I said, this is where a lot of you women fall short. Like, you feel that child inside of you, and now you making life decisions based on that child. Said, as men, we don't have that same experience. Your job is to nurture. Ours is different. I said, now, I've never met this guy that you talk about, but I know he's a mama's boy. I said, I know you've never told me this. I said, but I know he's the type of dude, when you drop your son off to him, he drops your son off to his mother. And he still does what he's been doing. But you never heard him talk about a father. I said, again, I don't know him, but I can tell he's never had a father in his life. I said, so you're dealing with a mama's boy and expecting him to be something that was never instilled in him. I said, but you didn't know what to look for because you didn't have a father in your life either. So you accepted this dude. And I said, and a lot of men, what society has made men go from being men to just being what they call providers. So you looking at a man from a monetary stance, not for his character or what type of dude he is and all that. So you tend to choose wrong because you looking at it from a financial standpoint. And I was like, y'all do it to yourself. You know what I mean? Like, that dude didn't change. He was a bum when you was dealing with him, but he was cool. You probably was smoking weed with him. You know what I mean? Like, but now you expect him to be a father that he's never had in his life. It ain't gonna happen.
Greg, I talk about my book about life, about perspective. And like you said, because you can take somebody who didn't have a father that says, okay, I know how much it impacted me, so I'm gonna be in my children's lives. But like you say, but as a person that's dealing with that person, you see that potential in that person, or you see that they don't have the potential. Like you said, this guy probably showed no signs that he even really wanted kids. He, like I say, never spoke about fatherhood. So it's kind of like, but this is who you lay down with, had a child with. So like, he's not changing. I tell my daughter all the time, and my son, talking to him all the time, I was like, I must the daughter. I said, when you dealing with people, don't listen to words they tell you. Pay attention to actions. They actually tell you how they really feel about you. Like, as a guy, being a young guy talking to women, I could tell a woman anything, but my actions will show you how I really feel about you. And if she's dealing with this guy, like, again, he's like I say, smoking weed and playing video games all day, he's not really concerned about her other than when she gets paid. He's gonna be the same when he has a child. He's not gonna all of a sudden flip a switch like, I'm a great man now. No, he wasn't, back then. He ain't, now. You don't care about this child,
Hey man, I'm telling you, the stuff that people would say, I promise you, I had a young lady tell me that she was just talking about her boyfriend and how this dude, she said he would rather get up at 3 o'clock in the morning, stand on the block all day, than to get a job. You know what I'm saying? Like, he had got a job, he had to be there at 8 o'clock. He complained about having to get up at 6 to get on the train to get to his job at 8 o'clock, and he was only working part-time. So he was back at home by 12:30 playing the video game again. So I asked, I was like, why are you dealing with that? And she said, now at the time she was 22, 23. She said, I'm trying to build him and make him a better man before I leave him. I said, you think you can do something his mama couldn't do?
Who loves him unconditionally?
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like, and I said, how insane is it that you would want to make him a better form of him for somebody else? Like, you want to make him better so you can leave him so he could be better for somebody else? I was like, that makes no sense to me. But I mean, in their head, that makes all the sense in the world.
And like you said, Greg, it comes down to having knowledge. Like you say, with those conversations like the one you have, it's kind of hard because you don't want to offend anybody. But you're looking at them, listening to them, you're like, that makes no sense. Like, your reasoning just answered your question. Why you dealing, why you having a hard time with this joker? But again, they don't want to hear that. They just want you to say, it's okay, he should change. Like, no, man is not going to change. Man has been man for his whole entire life. And the crazy thing about you talking about the guy sitting on the block and don't want to. So you would rather be on the block all day, risking the chance of going to jail, than to get up and work 4 or 5 hours a day. But again, I tell people all the time, that's why it's important who you choose to be with. Because this person's already showing you who they are. So what do you think is going to happen when times get hard? And they already struggling with this, just a regular job. Because, you know, as a man, like you say, there's been times I worked 2 full-time jobs. I mean, you do what you got to do. You figure it out. Now you might be struggling,
Exactly.
over here sleepy all the time, but you figure it out. But that's what real men do. And I tell them all the time, it's like, y'all date these boys, and then y'all like, oh, he's not a real man. Well, he told you. He already showed you what a real man.
And well, I mean, and most of them, in how I feel, don't want a real man because there's consequences to dealing with him. He's not gonna let you get away with what you want to get away with. I was talking to another friend of mine, and I was telling her, like, I saw so many women that was on Section 8 that dated guys that was constantly in and out of their house. I was like, you know, you keep saying you want a man, but you looking for dudes that aren't stable and to move in with you. I said, a lot of women want those type of men because they want to be able to control them. You want to be able to threaten him with putting him out and, you know, all of that. But if a man got his own place, his own modes of transportation, and is going to work every day, you don't look at him the same because you know he's not going to accept your bull when you try to come at him. And then you don't feel like you got any kind of control because, like, I've been staying on my own so long, like, I've never been in a position where a woman could kick me out of anything other than my mama. You know what I'm saying? And she wasn't going to do it. You know, she never wanted to see me leave. But I've never had a woman to be in a position, even dating one, to tell me to get out. And I mean, okay. If it did occur, okay. I got options. You not. I'm still gonna have a place to go
at the end of the day.
But I haven't, man, since my 20s. Other than, you know, when I got out the military, me and my cousins stayed together. You know, but you know, past 28, I've never lived with anybody. You know what I mean? So he kicked me out of what?
Well, you know, I tell my son, and again, it's why it's important for fathers. I've told my sons, and he's 18. I'm like, son, you never move in with somebody else. Like if you're in a girl dating, you can have your own place, you can have our own place, and y'all can come together and see each other or whatever. Or if you want to move in with you, that's fine. But you never ever move in with her and have everything in her name. This and that. And it's not that it's not being chauvinistic. It's just the fact that you need to be a man. You need to have your own. You can't say you're a man, but you living off of this lady. Like
exactly.
She's not gonna respect you the same either.
Exactly. And that's what I was about to say. Like, if you a man, before you even consider dating, I mean, and again, this goes into no accountability and us not raising these children right. Like, stand on your own as a man before you try to get involved with a woman. And then, you know, next thing you know, you got a pregnant. You know what I mean? You're not supposed to be moving in with a woman. A woman's supposed to be moving in with you. You know what I'm saying? And when I had these conversations, I'm always talking about marriage. I think that's something like our biggest problem is we don't push marriage. And I will tell you, our biggest problem is that we don't push marriage. The responsibility that comes along with it. Like, I don't understand, like, it makes no sense to me to be in what you consider a relationship, saying you boyfriend and girlfriend, and then saying somebody cheated on you, and then you want to fight somebody. Man, you have no rights to that person. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's the consequences of what you're doing. It's unstructured. You're not doing it right. You know what I mean? Like,
it's not defined.
You know what I mean? Like, you're bringing these kids in, then generation after generation, they don't even think marriage is something that they need to get into. And I'm constantly telling people don't believe in marriage because you got to see what this person you're dealing with is in it for. Like, step back and look at it. I've known people who only wanted the marriage, but not the responsibilities of it. You know what I'm saying? A lot of times that's women, and I ain't knocking women. I'm just saying some women will, I've heard them say, that phrase, always the what is it, the bridesmaid, never the bride.
Mm-hmm.
So you have this sense of, I need to get married because my friends got married,
Mm-hmm.
and you know what I'm saying, to push it, but you're not prepared for it. I had a young lady try to throw this scripture on me, the one in Proverbs that said, a man that finds a wife finds a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, well, you do understand in that scripture, you have to be a wife first. I don't make you a wife. You have to come to me as a wife.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Just
Mm-hmm.
like I have to be a husband.
Mm-hmm.
You have to see a husband in me before we get married.
Right.
You thinking you become a wife when we get married already says you're not ready for marriage.
Mm-hmm.
No one has told you how to maintain or care for a home, or no, women are not trained on how to treat men, but we're trained from the time we're boys on how we're supposed to treat women.
Be a gentleman.
Yeah, that's it. So,
Yeah.
you know, it's a lot of things that are out of whack, you know what I mean? Like, why we can't get stuff together around here. But, you know, those things that I would say are the godly things in this evil, wicked world, we don't want to be a part of them.
Yep. But you know, Greg, I agree with you, and that's big what you said. I was thinking the same thing. It's like again, we've gotten so far away from the Bible and the way the family's supposed to be, the structure, you know. And like you say, everybody wants to date, or even some people that get married, they don't treat it like marriage. They treat marriage like dating. Like, oh, I don't like you today, we're gonna get a divorce. I'm like, no,
Right.
that's not how it works. Like I've been with my wife for a very long time. We've been married 19 years. And I'm sure she'll listen to this pod. There's some days she probably can't stand my guts. There's some days I don't like her that much. There's some days we might not even talk to each other. But at the end of the day, she's my wife. I'm her husband. We're gonna work through this. That's marriage. She has her roles. I have my role. They may blend sometimes, but we believe in family. We believe in marriage and those roles. And again, like I said, people they want the wedding, but not the matrimony, I guess I would say. You know, it's like they want the wedding, but they don't want the work that comes with it, because living with somebody every day is work. You know.
Look, this is another conversation I had with a friend of mine, and we were talking about marriage, and I said marriage is a business. You need to look at it like it's a business. And then she was like, "Nah, I don't want nobody to look at me like I'm a business. I want somebody to love me." I was like, "Well, you don't even understand the concept of love yet. We got to get past that." I said, "But this is my thing." I said, and you know, black women talk about how they're the most educated and this and that, and they open more businesses. Okay, cool. So I said to her, I said, well, if you started a business, you're going to have good days and bad days, ups and downs, but you're going to strive to make your business work, correct? She was like, yeah. I said, what is different about that and marriage? You're going to have some good days, some bad days, some ups and downs, but you should still be working to make it work. I was like, first of all, and she was like, well, you keep saying it's a business. I said, okay, let me ask you this. You ever seen anybody go through a divorce? She was like, yeah. I said, how many times have you heard them say they sued to get their love back? Like, you've never heard anybody say they sued to get love back. I said, you go to court to fight for the house, the cars, the bank accounts, the kids. All those are financial situations and obligations. I said, because if you get the kids, you're going to sue somebody for child support. I said, it's all business. If you look at it like it's a business, you could make it work.
Yeah.
So, that made sense to her when I broke it down, but because she was still lost on the butterflies and that's the killer part. Like, that stuff never lasts. The whole butterflies when you meeting somebody and getting to know them, that doesn't last.
Right.
You have to put in work after that.
Well, you know, and I tell people all the time, relationships, there's times where you're with somebody and, you know, in the beginning, you're in love with that person, right? But then there's another time when you're not necessarily in love with that person, but you love this person. And now you may, fall back in love with the person, but that's how marriage works. That's how relationships work. I tell people, like you say, once you realize that no matter what happens, I'm not gonna give up on this person, and they're not gonna give up on me, it changes everything. Because again, we dealing with a generation who they don't know the Bible. And I know it,
Right.
but I could always know it better, but they don't have that. There's nobody saying, like you said, look, your goal shouldn't be sleeping with as many people as you possibly can. Your goal should be to find someone that you can marry and build something with. But that's not what's preached. That, with our music, with everything, that's not what's preached. So, and if you don't have a father in the home or somebody pouring into you, and no one, putting you in church or just basically give you that guidance, then you're out here like a lot of people see now. They're just out here just me find me. I don't even know that, again, marriage is treated like dating. Because why don't you get married just to say, well, you know what, in 6 months, I'm done. That's just dating. And like you said, something funny you said, Greg, being married so long, when I see people that are dating and like you say, the person break up because somebody's cheating or whatever, I'm like, they ain't yours anyway. Like, what do you, like you said, like, what are you mad about? I mean, I get it means something to you, but technically, y'all said y'all obligated to each other, but you guys are not married. So you just move on.
Man, what's most crazy about that is you don't love this person enough to get married, but you love them enough to fight somebody in the street and kill them over this person. That makes no sense to me. You know what I'm saying? Like, you willing to fight and kill somebody over this person that you wouldn't even marry.
Right.
They bring up marriage, you don't want that. No, we don't need that.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, it's a lot more to it than just being married. Like, man, I got a million stories I could tell, but I was telling the young lady that I would get life insurance policies before we get married. And she found that to be a threat. I was like, why is that threatening? You know what I'm saying? Like, a week before we get married, we get life insurance policies on each other. I didn't make it sound like you gonna kill me or something. I was like, well, if that's your thought, why would we even be getting married? And I said, look, I'm gonna tell you why. Like, man, I'm very observant. I look at the world and I learn from it. I can't remember the guy's name. I'm sure you're gonna know what I'm talking about. I think his last name was Bell. Is the guy who was about to get married. He lived in New York. The night of his bachelor party, they got into some type of confrontation and the police killed him.
Yeah.
He had been with his fiance for years, but because, they had a child together, because they didn't have an insurance policy on each other, she got nothing.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, this is the dude she was about to marry. But because he died the night before, and even if he died the day of, because he still wouldn't have the insurance policy. Right. So, you know what I'm saying? Me seeing that however many years ago that was, I was like, man, we shouldn't leave a person in a situation to where they have nothing if something happens to me, because a lot of us don't think of insurance as a means of taking care of this person that I'm with anyway. That's why you have these fish fries and let's take up a collection and help bury this person type stuff. Yeah. Like, man, we really got to get ourselves together.
Well, Greg, and like it's a great point, because I agree. Like when you're gonna marry somebody, you want to love them enough that even if I'm not here, I still want to make sure you're okay. And like you said, in that situation, she could have been taken, because basically they were together anyway.
Exactly.
It's the day before, like you say. And I think a couple of things. I think one, people are so worried about somebody trying to take advantage of them. They're like you say, even with you having that conversation, like, hey, you should get life insurance policy before you get married. The first thought is, well, you're trying to kill me. It's like, no, I'm trying to tell you I love you enough that even if I'm not here, I want you to be taken care of. But you deal with people who's like, what are you trying to do to me? You're like, no, I'm trying to take care of you. But again, if you can't even grasp this concept, we shouldn't be together. And like you said something earlier about the women doing the same thing. And the same thing with the guys. I tell these guys, like, you have guys who are killing women because she cheated, quote unquote. And like you said, It's like, you just killed this woman, but you didn't even love her enough to try to marry her. But you don't want her to be with anybody else, and you sleep with everybody. You don't want her with,
Everybody.
everybody. You don't want her with anybody else. You calling out her name, and now you killed her, but you didn't love her enough to give her your last name. It's just, but again, it all goes back to, if we just live the way we're supposed to live and follow the teachings and the lessons, it cuts out all this foolishness. But when you're dealing with people that live in chaos and they don't want the answer, like you're thinking logically, right? Like insurance policies, get married. This is the way God designed it, and they look at you like, what are you talking about? Like they just don't want to hear. They don't want to hear the truth.
I got some ulterior motive. I'm trying to kill her to get the insurance policy. Nah, you know what I'm saying? Like,
I'm not trying to go to jail.
And this is why I said most people don't understand what love is or what it looks like.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? True. Like me moving in with you and working a part-time job, or you working 2 jobs and going to school. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is an actual situation I know of. A girl was dealing with it. Her boyfriend worked a part-time job and played video games all day. She worked 2 jobs and was going to school. And one day he came in and asked her what she cooking for dinner.
And she done worked 2 jobs and going to school. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
And that's my thing. Like, why would anyone ever even date somebody like that? That's my thing.
That was my question.
Yeah, because like, what do you expect is gonna happen? Like, even if you finish your degrees and you go down to 1 job, this person's already showing you, and I think sometimes people think, and I might get some flack for this, but they think we're being chauvinistic. But I'm like, no, I'm a man. I'm supposed to provide. If anybody's gonna work 2 jobs, I should be out there working 2 jobs. And we can do this thing together. We should be working together, but I shouldn't have her working 2 jobs, going to school, and I'm working part-time. I'm here half-time. I'm at home and I'm asking her what we're gonna eat tonight.
Yeah, at home all day. Yeah. And man, like I said, I got story after story after story. I had a friend we used to mess around with, but I mean, she was so negative, I couldn't deal with her. I mean, gorgeous chick, like dudes, I mean, they would act a fool. And I'd be like, man, I know as a man, I'm just cut different. You know what I'm saying? Like, I ain't got to run and chase women, and I ain't got to sleep with every woman. And I ain't saying I ain't did a whole lot of stuff that I shouldn't have done, but in doing those things, I've learned. Like, this chick got married, and she married a dude who she knew was a mama's boy. She was a wedding planner. She used to tell me about how messed up the guy was the whole time. And I'm like, you know what I'm saying? I used to tell her all the time, you're a very negative person. And I'm like, your negative energy really just pulls against me. Like, we not going to be able to make it. And, she got with him and she was complaining the whole time, but I understood that's the type of person she was. So I let her be who she is. So one day she called me, she was like, asking could she borrow some money. Now, she married at this time. And I was like, yeah, I mean, what you need? Because we were still cool. And she was like, I just need $70. I need 140, but my friend who's owed me some money for 2 years said she gonna give me the money back. And I was like, okay, well, I'm at work. I said, I'm around the corner. I said, as soon as I get done with this, I'll call you and I'll meet you upstairs. She worked in the basement of a building not far from where I was. So I went around there, and as soon as she came upstairs, it's like she started crying. I knew she was a hard worker. I knew she was going to pay me the money back. And I was like, my mama told me, if you ain't, how did she say it?
I know exactly what you're talking about.
It was so poetic. But regardless, it'll come back to me.
If you don't have it to give away or lose.
You don't have to know.
Yeah.
So, when she got that, I got the whole I took $150 out the bank.
Okay.
I was like, you just need the 70 or you need the whole 150 or 140. She was like, just the 70 to my friend. I said, look, your friend ain't gonna pay you nothing. Yeah, she ain't paid you in 2 years. She not gonna pay you either.
Right.
I said, I got the 140. you want the 140 or you want the 70?
Mm-hmm.
And she was like, well, I'll take the 140. I'm gonna give it back to you, I promise. I say, I know. I said I wouldn't be giving to you if I thought you wasn't. I
Right.
said, but even if you don't, then that just lets me know where we are with this situation.
Mm-hmm.
I
Yep.
said, but look, before I put this in your hand, let me let you understand something about me. I said, and you've been around me enough to know. I said, I understand why you called and asked me. I said,
Mm-hmm.
because you married. I said, my wife could not call and ask no man for no money. I said, I'm talking about even her father. If
Right.
we in a situation where we know her father got it,
Mm-hmm.
as a man, I'm going to be the one to ask him. Like, she's not
Mm-hmm.
going to have to go to her father to ask him for anything. And I
Mm-mm.
said, Lord knows, I hope I'm never in that situation. I
Mm-hmm.
said, but once I'm married to a woman, she should not have to depend on no man for nothing.
Mm-hmm.
I said, let me let you know that first. I said, there's no way your husband should be on unemployment playing video. This is another woman married, somebody playing video games all day. And his response to whatever financial hardship y'all dealing with is, well, we can move in with my mama. Mama's boy, off the rip. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? She knew it before she married him.
Right.
The mother, like, it was a storm in Chicago one time and the streets had got flooded.
Mm-hmm.
He was at his friend's house playing video games. The mother called her to ask her if she had called to check on her husband. And I was like, y'all
Huh?
got a kid together.
Right.
Why would you be calling to check on him? He should be worried about the home front.
Exactly.
But I said, that's the type of dude you married, though. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like,
But want different results.
yeah. But couldn't deal with me because none of that stuff that she would try to pull would work with me. Like, yeah, I told him, Shorty, I ain't never had a woman that could control me or do nothing since I left my mama's crib. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I'm cut different. I'm not what you used to. I'm Southern, and
Mm-hmm.
I was raised around men. And I'm not saying my father was not active in my life, but
Mm-hmm.
my mom was the kind of woman. She had my mom got 5 sisters, something like that,
Mm-hmm.
and we could never sit up under them.
Oh
My
no, why
mama,
they
if we was,
talking?
yeah, never, never. You better get your butt outside. You don't ever sit around a bunch of women. You know what
Mm-hmm.
I'm saying? So my mama had us around people who, you know what I'm saying, men. Like,
Mm-hmm.
if I went over my friend's house and they was cutting the yard and, trimming the hedges or whatever, we had to help just
Yep.
to be able to play with them because
Yep.
they couldn't do nothing until that got done. So these
Mm-hmm.
are the type of men I was raised around. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? We all had to do stuff with each other.
Yep.
You want to play, this got to happen first.
And Greg was
If you
crazy.
happen to,
But here's the crazy thing about it. You didn't even find it as punishment. It's like, okay, this is what I'm supposed to do.
exactly.
You know?
Exactly. We can't do nothing until this get done. I want to play. I want to shoot ball. I want to do whatever
Yep.
it is we want to do. Yeah, this got to get done
We're
first.
gonna, we're gonna trim
So
these hedges. You
yeah,
know?
so we had to help them do it so we can make it happen.
Yeah, and I think that's lost too because I like you say, kids nowadays are inside. They're on cell phones, they're on video games. And when I was a kid, I grew up in the projects. We were outside all day. Like I
Yeah,
probably played more basketball in my life than most NBA players because we stayed in the
exactly.
gym. Like when you got up in the morning, you ate a bowl of cereal or whatever, and you left. You had to be home when the street lights came on, and you better not get in trouble and embarrass me. My grandma's like, "Don't embarrass me." You don't even have a
Right.
curfew, and they said, "Don't embarrass me." You can come in at a decent time, But that's been lost because again, I've seen times where, and we'll go to. I got some more questions. We'll go to, but this is kind of what I thought the podcast would be because it's talking about life lessons and relationships. But
Right.
I've seen times where driving down the interstate and it's a woman outside changing the tire, and the guy is on the passenger
Sitting in the
side
car.
sitting in the car,
Sitting in the
or they pull up the gas station and she goes, pays for the gas,
car.
pumps the gas. So what's funny is, and I think I told my wife the story before, when I first came up here, I was working in youth villages, and the lady, I won't say her name, it was a lady. She was a little bit older than me, and I think at the time, like we used to do these visits. So I go out to see these kids or whatever. And that particular day, she drove, and we stopped at the gas station. She stopped, and I hopped out the car, and she's like, "What are you doing?" I was like, "I'm pumping gas." And so crazy that to me that was normal. It was what I'm supposed to do as a man. I'm chivalrous.
Mm-hmm.
This lady was like, "Oh my God, nobody's ever pumped my gas." Like basically, I think she thought I wanted to sleep with her because I was pumping her gas. I'm like, no, like I'm a man. This is what I'm supposed to do. And I think that's what's lost in this generation. Like the roles are so jacked up now that men are not expected to be men. It's accepted for this guy to sit over here and not make the check oil and not change a tire. And I'm like, why do you need him? It's like you talking about the lady borrowing money from you. Like,
Right.
as a husband, me and my wife had to live in a matchbox before I'd be like, okay with her asking some other man for money. It's like,
Exactly.
no, I'm gonna go work an extra job. I'm gonna sell stuff around here or something. But we're gonna figure this out. I'm a man. I'm gonna take care of my house and my family at all costs. But
Yeah, I've had that same scenario with the gas station. I had another one when I visited a friend of mine in Columbia, Ohio, and she took me out to go to a restaurant. You know, of course, I don't know nothing about the city, so she took me to this restaurant. I'm telling her like, "Hey, let me sit over here, and you sit over there." And she was like, "Why?" I said, "Well, I explain it when we take a seat." So when we sat down, I said, "Look, it's a door right there and a door right there. If I sat where you said, I couldn't see either one." I said, "As a man, it is my job to be able to observe and see what things are going on. And it's my job to protect you if something is popping off." Said, "I can't do that with my back to the door and not being able to, see things." So her thing was, "Oh, so you learned that in the military?" I said, "Nah, I was just taught this growing up." Yeah, you know what I'm saying? So I was like, everything ain't military. It's some men that's really teaching men. And I was like, man, I used to, see how people talk about the South, but I'm so glad I was raised in the South where
I know it.
we had those values and understandings, and you know what I'm saying? You don't let a woman walk on the outside, and this, like,
That's it.
man, these cats is not getting it, and they not getting it. And women have been so comfortable being in men roles, they buck the system when you trying to show them something different.
Yeah, like open the door
Like,
or whatever. It's
yeah, like I don't need. And I had a chick tell me in Chicago, "I don't need you to open my door." I'm like, okay, no problem. She had never had to do it. This was, I was dating. I had picked up my time at the time, my girlfriend. And they worked together. So I'm dropping this chick off, but I open my girl door, and then I open up her door too. It's the same, I don't need you to open my door. I said, nobody said you needed me to.
Right.
I'm like, man, it's so sad. Y'all have never been treated like anything other than what y'all get treated like.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's crazy because, like, again, like you say, and even with that, sometimes you look down upon them because you're trying to be a gentleman. But I tell my son, I said, if you deal with a woman who looks down on you for being a gentleman, that's not the type of woman you need to be with.
Exactly.
But, because there's some things I'm going to do. And I try to teach him everything I can. There's some things I'm going to do as a man that's what I'm supposed to do. Not because, again, military is nothing. It's the fact that that's what I'm supposed to do as a man. And I tell him the same thing. Like I said, you sit where you're watching the door. My wife actually comes in now. She knows. She's like, you're not going to sit your back to the door. I'm like, no, I'm not. My job as a husband is to protect you and provide for you. So even that means if somebody kicks that door in, because, you do a generation now, if somebody kicks that door in, I need to be the first thing they encounter. I should be hiding behind her like they broke in. And if that means it cost me my life, then that's what it is. That I'm a man, like I'm the first one up. That's my job. But again, that's not what you deal with nowadays.
Yeah. And then you had a controversy behind the conversation when you're talking about it. And the women that say, well, no one taught the dudes that I'm dating. I'm like, well, who raising these dudes that you talking about?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Because y'all cool with men not being in their lives. You keep choosing these dudes who are not going to be in their life. You say you want a street dude, you want a scammer and all these things. That is showing that this is not a responsible person.
Right.
But that's who you want to have kids by. So you want to be upset that he's not in their life, but that's the choice you made.
Exactly. And you knew this is what you're dealing with. He showed no signs that he's going to be a great father. Thank you for joining me on this episode of Life, Lessons, and Legacy. I hope you found our discussion thought-provoking and inspiring. If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to subscribe to the podcast and leave a review. Your feedback helps us to improve and reach more listeners like you. Remember, life is a journey of growth and discovery, and every experience, both the highs and the lows, contributes to the legacy we leave behind. So embrace each moment, cherish the lessons, and live with purpose. You can find more resources, including my book, Life, Lessons, and Legacy, How to Take Life's Lessons and Shape Your Legacy, available for purchase on my website at www.lifelessonsandlegacy.com, also available on amazon.com. On my website, you'll also discover information about my life coaching services and speaking engagements designed to help you unlock your full potential and live a life full of purpose. I'm Cedric D. Nelson. Until next time, take care, and I'll see you soon.